Okay, part 5 of the SEND Reform Consultation Guide. We're doing questions 9 and 10. Go and check out the previous videos if you're not here yet. So these questions are about the early years system. I do want to point out that if there are any questions that you don't want to answer or don't have anything to say on, you can just skip any of them. Question 9 is around arrangements for effective joint working between Best Start Family Hubs, health, local authorities and parents for early years children. Question 10 is about how the 2-year check and the Healthy Child Programme Development Review can be improved so that needs are identified quickly and supported better. Let's look at what it says in the actual document, because these questions are very interesting. With other questions, they have set out what they think they should do, and then they're asking you essentially to respond to how those things might work. But for these questions, there isn't really an answer in the proposals. They don't seem to know the answer. I think they're hoping that you might. So this section of the proposal starts on page 36. The document does run in order with the questions, so that will help you find the section you're looking for if you want to go and look in the document for yourself. But they say a lot of things here that are absolutely correct and fair enough. Early identification that's effective will improve outcomes. They're talking about their investments in Best Start Family Hubs. It says that to make early intervention effective, it has to be joined up, local and responsive. We all agree on that. They say that earlier staff will be able to access high quality professional development through their SEND training package and new evidence-based identification and intervention tools. Not sure what they will be, and they'll also be able to access the experts at hand offer. They talk about making it easier and more affordable for families to access high quality early years support, and they're setting up an inclusive early years fund. They're also setting up new partnerships to support and strengthen transitions from early years settings to school and improve the quality of teaching in reception. I think we can all agree those are positive things. They talk about family hubs being a single front door for families. If you're concerned about your child, you can go there, get advice, practical help and evidence-based interventions, and that every hub will have a SEND practitioner. And it does say that for children under 5 who have been identified as having complex needs, we will introduce a fast track for a specialist provision package and EHCP for those children. But what you'll notice is there isn't a proposal for improving joint working between early years providers and all of these services. There is a SEND practitioner in every family hub that is supposed to be a single front door for every family who has concerns about their child's development. Have a think about how many families that would actually be and how much a SEND practitioner would be able to do for those families. The obvious answer to this question, in my opinion, is that there needs to be somebody who coordinates services, right? That cannot be a single SEND practitioner in every family hub for every child with SEND in the early years stage. We need more than that. We need a dedicated workforce of people whose job is to keep track of referrals that have been made, services that are required, whether they're being followed through, whether they've been missed. All of those things need to be coordinated by somebody. They need to be able to hold those services to account. At the moment, that responsibility falls in the early years onto nursery SENCOs who don't have capacity to do all that, or any authority to make sure that it happens, or any way to enforce accountability. That is obviously what's needed. It's very difficult to manage multiple services, and it's very easy for services at the moment to pass the buck. That needs to change so that services can work together more closely and children can get what they need and early intervention can be effective. That's not in the proposals. I think that's what's needed, but there doesn't seem to be any other alternative suggestion in there. So that's what I'll be saying, but you might have a different view, or you might find that this section isn't relevant to you. Then it asks how the 2-year development check process could be improved so that children's needs are identified and supported more quickly. Now, one of my children was diagnosed following a referral through this process, so I understand how it works. What I didn't know, nobody told me at the time, was that your child doesn't have to be 2 to do the 2-year development check. There were obvious issues earlier, and there is a different questionnaire for children under 2 that can be used to assess their development and refer them earlier than that if there are very obvious needs. That might not be possible for all children, but for some children with very obvious developmental delays or regression, doing it earlier is better. It gives more time to do those things. And beyond that, making sure those checks are actually done, making sure the referrals are actually put in, making sure that services follow up and there aren't ridiculously long waiting lists for interventions, support and diagnosis. Those are all things that could improve that process, as well as having someone to coordinate all of those things. But again, this isn't in the proposals. There is no suggestion of how we could do this. So it seems like they're really hoping you might have some brilliant ideas on this, because they don't seem to have a plan yet. This might be one part of the consultation where what you say might actually have an impact. So if you're concerned about early years, if you have knowledge or experience of that, this is, I would say, a good place to focus and give some really detailed ideas. Now, obviously, there are significant costs involved with all of those ideas, but we know that the right early intervention as early as possible could reduce costs through a child's entire lifetime. So I think it's justifiable. Next, we're moving on to the SEND training offer and what it should include. And then I will post more videos. We will get through this whole form together. You can ask me questions, and I really want to help you get this done, because I think it's really important that as many of us as possible respond. If you have specific questions, put them in the comments. I will try and address them either in reply or in a future video. So please do follow along, and I'll give as much information as I can to help you through this together.